And welcome back to the hot stage where we are looking at the Safari Rally, our Safari Rally Fallout Safari Rally Debrief, if you will. That was pretty much dominated, as you can see above me, by Toyota, and in particular Kalle Rovanperä. I was all waiting for that puncture. Day 1 didn't come. Day 2 didn't come. No mistakes. Day 3, I figured surely his luck could not last until day 4. It did. And absolutely fully deserved. How ominous is this? Goes to the Safari Rally. Absolutely no mistakes. Part-time at the moment. Is the current world champion. Will he be full-time next year? If I was Evans, Katsuta, Tanak, Nouvelle, I would be quite worried about Calle's kind of like sabbatical, let's say, from full-time rallying in the championship. Yeah, absolute domination, absolute. Ominous. I mean, he's come out and he's thanked his Toyota team for the ultimate Safari performance. This is from WRC.com. He's paid tribute to the Toyota Gazoo racing team after what he felt was the performance on last week's Safari Canyon. Now, the two-time champion was unbeaten. I mean, this guy unbeaten through Friday's opening full day of competition, establishing a lead that pretty much never even came close to being toppled. His Toyota Yaris Rally 1 ran without fault. Now, yes, I guess, in a way, you could kind of contribute some kind of luck. I get it. You know, I mean, people ran over stones, people had punctures, simply because maybe they weren't good, maybe they weren't good enough. But Rovanperä said, I want to say a big thanks to the team because everybody made a big effort to make the car so well. I think we did a good job. I think you cannot do a better Safari than what we did with no issues and clever driving. He went on to saying it was a tough weekend. I think every year the rally is a bit different. Amen to that. But this one was definitely more rough after the rain. So yeah, we didn't have the rain. It may well have been a completely different story, to the point where I think Chris and I were watching it, not together, but what's communicating with each other throughout the stages, and I think both of us were slightly saddened by the lack of rain. Now, on the other hand, he said, I'm really happy with how we did it, managing the whole pace from the lead from the start of the event, driving really clean for the whole weekend. Yeah, he was out in front, and it almost seemed quite boring for him, didn't it? Every time we saw Kalle, it was like, yeah, same old Kalle, having a nice time in the Safari. He went on to saying it was clear in those conditions that you would have a lot of issues, but it was nice to see that we didn't have those. The plan was always to drive clean, and I think I took really good care of the car. It was all the time in really good condition. And I mean, yeah, it says so in the results. If we look at the results, we got obviously Rovanperä, first, Katsuta in the Toyota. It was near. We thought maybe a Toyota 123, but Evans, yeah, his middle name's Evans, Elvin Puncture Evans, and Fulmo in third. I mean, second place, 1 minute 37 seconds behind, and almost another minute behind was Adrian Fulmo in his second podium after Sweden. I mean, what an absolute blast this guy had. I mean, amazing. So how did the other guys do? Well, let's get into that then. So we've got the list of all the drivers. Let's go through one by one. Okay, Thierry Neuville. How did Mr. Thierry Neuville do? Well, he did not very well. I mean, he didn't make any mistakes, but his car was absolutely cursed. It was cursed with problems, wasn't it? This poor guy could not get a break at all. I mean, I felt for him, yeah, quite badly. I mean, he finished, 10 minutes, 17 and a half seconds behind. I don't think through any, fault of his own. So, yeah, disappointing. I mean, he is still the championship leader. We will be doing a whole show, Chris and I, on that point system, because we're now three, WRC events in, and I don't think it's really working, even as intended. I mean, yes, they wanted to do that Sunday, but we're going to really get into the point system. Chris is doing, I think we're going to have stats, tables, maybe not quite pie charts, but we're going to have, I think, a load of evidence in relation to that. So, there. Thierry Neuville, somewhat disappointing, if I'm honest. But this guy here, his second podium. I mean, a lot of people didn't rate Mr. Forme coming coming into the season. So the fact that he scored his first podium in Sweden, and as Chris has said, he's known for tarmac, to be fairly solid at tarmac rally, I think he was saying, and now to get a podium not on tarmac rally, we've got Sweden, which is really challenging, and the Safari challenging in another way. Yes, he did. I mean, he wasn't uber fast. Bearing in mind he is in the Ford, which I think is currently at definitely the third fastest team overall. But they are all, because it's rally. Anyone is capable of springing a surprise, and I think he did. But his podium, that third place, is fully deserved. He had his own bit of bad luck as well, but absolutely fantastic. Can't fault him at all. Evans, I think he made maybe a couple of mistakes, but that was because of a puncture when he ran over a rock. Kind of unlucky. I mean, everything happened to this guy. It was almost the opposite of Kalle, wasn't it? Not good at all. He ended up finishing fourth. Quite importantly, he finished ahead of Terry Neuville. So I think, considering how much went wrong with Mr. Evans, I don't think you could really fault him too much. I think that's about the best he could have done with all those mistakes. But he was fast. He did win a stage. So this is Esteban Lappi. Absolutely. Once again, I thought he was, the Hyundais at the beginning of the rally had really good pace. They absolutely did. However, they folded like paper throughout, didn't they? I mean, none of them on the podium. Bear in mind, we had Hyundai winning the first and second rounds of the championship with Neuville and Mr. Lappi respectively. So Lappi were all the way finished back in 12th, 42 seconds behind, because he had loads of problems in the Hyundai. And there's, once again, I don't think there's nothing with he could have done with the transmission, I think, etc. And even the Hyundai were having, I think, troubles initially understanding it and sorting it out. So yeah, not particularly great. And I did feel sorry for Mr. Lappi. And another guy I felt sorry for is Mr. Munster. I mean, yeah, once again, this guy, what is it, 15th? He finished nearly an hour behind because of the problems he had. Once again, it's the Safari Rally. It's the lack of the draw. However, you cannot ignore the fact that Kalle did not have one problem. Is it? Yes, I do think there's an element of luck, but there's also, how much do I push the car? And that's something that he had pretty much perfected here. He didn't win all the stages. He got that lead early on and very much solidified that lead early on. And this is Jordan. Where did he finish? I'm going to have to look on the M Sport. He finished 26 minutes behind in 9th. I don't think it's too bad. I mean, yeah, this part-time, very much a part-time racer, but I tell you what, he was always happy in the interviews, always entertaining. He always put a big smile on my face. So yeah, fair play to you there. Absolutely brilliant. Now, this guy here, Rovanperä, we've just spoken about him. Absolute domination. This guy could be a very scary presence should he choose to come back to rally in 2025. That's going to be kind of depressing, isn't it? Is he going to be the Max Verstappen of rally? So let's talk about Mr. Miserable. He had a lot of reasons to be miserable, though, did not Tanak? We said coming into the rally here, he absolutely had to have a good rally, didn't he? He absolutely had to have an awesome, fantastic rally. He didn't. He did not have an awesomely fantastic rally. In fact, it was kind of meh, if I'm honest. Really disappointed. Really disappointed. Yes, played by issues. That championship is looking, I think it's over 40 points now. And we'll have a story on him in a bit, but not looking great, is it? For Ott Tanak, yeah. But this guy here, yes, Evans was my pick. This was Chris's pick to win. I guess Chris won by the fact that this guy came second. Nursing the car as well, a bit unlucky. Okay, he was no Kalle Rovanperä here, but he's been on the podium in Interferry before, and I don't think we had too many of those, I don't want to say classic Taka mistakes, but sometimes it's not quite surprised. I'm not entirely surprised when he's absolutely going hell for leather, doing gangbusters on the stage, and then you see him in a wall, you see him the wrong way around, in a wall, in a barrier, or something. And I know it's really unfair. I'm not sometimes all surprised, but this guy does, he does have the speed. It's just, I think he's a bit slow coming with that experience. But could he? This guy is a rally winner in waiting at the very least. Could he win a championship? I don't know yet. Time will tell. But a rally winner in waiting, and I honestly think he's going to do it at some point this year. Or he'll have a genuine chance like Sweden again on one of the rallies, maybe even Japan. That would be fantastic if he ends up winning his home race. But really, really solid was Katsuta here. Yes, 1 minute 37.8 down, but he had punctures, didn't he, as well, and he nursed his car back. Kind of like Evans, considering the things that happened to him. I don't think you could have asked any more from Katsuta. Absolutely not. I don't think you could have asked any more from the guy. So, I mean, that's pretty much the rundown of the main WRC people. However, I would very much like to say in relation to Guy, Mr. Greensmith in the was it WRT3 team? I mean, yes, he beat Solberg. He paced himself. Poor old Solberg had awful luck again, didn't he? Arguably some of the worst with his punctures, and it was looking like a real battle between him and between Solberg and Greensmith, and it didn't happen, did it? Which was a massive shame in my opinion. We were really robbed of what could have been an ultimate WRC2 battle for the ages. But alas, sixth place for Greensmith, absolutely fantastic. Massive exclamation mark on that championship. Should Oliver Solberg be worried? Maybe. I mean, I think he's definitely having one look over his shoulder now. So good stuff. I mean, it was a really, really exciting rally. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it was brilliant. And I pretty much watched or rewatched every stage, and things were happening. I mean, you were just keeping those fingers crossed because something was going to happen. Someone was going to get a puncture. And yeah, but in the end, Kalle Rovanperä won, and all was right in the world. Now, let me just get the web back up. Okay, here we have it. Interesting. We've got Cyril Abittel. Team principal issues a firm demand to Mr. Tanak. I mean, I think if you're going to pick one rally driver who's going to be under pressure, it is going to be Tanak. So Tanak very much under pressure. And the story goes that Tanak made his return, this is from rallyjournal.com, to Hyundai's WRC rally team this year. Just 3 rounds in, and he's at Nouvelle in the Hyundai at the top of the standings. Now, in contrast, he's currently 4th. Sorry, I said 40. I do apologise, Tanak. 34 points behind your teammate after 3 events. Now, as we know, Nouvelle has consistently accumulated points in each event. The rally was a bit of a trial by him, but he finished 4th. Tanak has experienced retirements in 2 consecutive events. That mistake, for example, in Sweden. To be fair, that's something that Kalle did as well, and I think Taka as well. But from last weekend's rally, Nouvelle scooped the 2nd largest points haul, even though he finished only 5th overall. Yes, I know, those points. We will be getting into it. Hyundai team principal Cyril, though, could only praise Nouvelle's fighting spirit. He said, "We faced numerous problems. We had to find solutions on the fly and not lose motivation. Thierry's attitude was exemplary," said Cyril. Abittel said in an interview. That was with, I think, it says here, Belgium's RTBF channel. However, as we know, Tanak retired in the Safari Rally on Friday after hitting a bank following what was an unfortunate collision with a rock. I don't think it was his fault. However, on the final day, he did show good pace. And he did show good pace throughout the stages as well, being the fastest driver on Sunday and finishing 2nd in that power stage, amassing 12 points for the weekend. Now, despite this, Tanak's start to the season has been, let's be fair, I mean, they say disappointing. Yeah, disappointing, underwhelming. I really want to say, bearing in mind when you look at the first 2 events, Sweden, that did appear to be yes, it was difficult conditions, but everyone had the same conditions there. There was no rock. That wasn't unforced, error that he made, which you don't want to make as, a world champion incumbent. Same could be said of Kalle, but he's not going for a world championship this year, is he? So the argument I said at the beginning of the year, like Kalle, he can push. He's got nothing to lose in these rallies. Now, the team principal, though, has made a demand of the Estonian star. He said, "I think this season is going to be so tight that no driver can rely solely on their driving skills. There are a few cars, but the competition is so fierce that it's going to come down to intelligence and consistency, but most importantly, hard work." And he said, "I think Ott is such a strong driver that he hasn't yet needed to put in that extra work in his career to clinch a title." And Cyril went on to saying, "I believe Terry has been an inspiration and a model in that respect." Now, here we go. The start of the season, he says, has been remarkable in terms of effort, commitment, and seriousness. It's like almost like a headmaster's report. His attitude towards the team and the public. Statements are relevant, intelligent, and measured. It really is. Even when things are going well, we're seeing a truly Thierry. Ott will have to step up his level. There we go. I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, that Ott will have to step up his level. I think minimum podium. He realistically needs to finish in the top 2, and fighting for the win till the end, till the power stages on Sunday for the next race. He absolutely does. Will he? I don't know, but I think Tanak, for me, in terms of the World Rally Championship, is the one driver at the top echelon under the most pressure. And it's going to be interesting to see what Chris makes of that as well. I think we both agreed that he was underwhelming so far, the disappointing driver of the year so far. I think there was so much hope when he came back to Hyundai that this is going to be really, really interesting. And you can even make an argument saying you wouldn't have been surprised if he was ahead of Nouvelle in the championship, but 34 points behind. I don't think anyone absolutely would have guessed that whatsoever. So as we wrap up our coverage, then dirtfish.com have got an interesting article saying what we learned from Safari Kenya 2024, which I want to get into. And they pretty much said, unless your name was Kalle, you were if you were a World Rally Championship driver competing on the Safari, you ran into trouble at least once, and absolutely. And at times they're saying it was a topsy-turvy affair. Toyota Hyundai drivers took turns running into problems, as well as Gregor Monster in the M Sport. He said, we learned nothing about Kalle, nothing new. The world champion putting a textbook victory. So the reasons for Hyundai's urgent push for a new car laid bare they've got. So the rumours about Hyundai's position in the WRC has been rumbling for weeks. There have been some bewilderment around whether Nouvelle would retire, and we reported on that at the end of 2024. Now the point he was trying to make is, if there was no Hyundai, there'd be no drive for him and he'd have to quit. Okay, but why would he make that point in the first place? It started to make sense once it said Dirtfish spoke to Seward in Kenya. That had to bin the development of the new i20 after being able to build that new car immediately is key to Hyundai's commitment in the WRC. Why that new car is so important, they said, became startlingly apparent in Kenya, being their fundamental flaws into the car's design that can't be fixed through the upgrades. I mean, that is a massive exclamation mark, isn't it? Transmission woes have affected the cars multiple times in the past. They've reared their head again. Past fixes for those reliability woes related to the transmission, they're saying, was not really a fix at all. I mean, that's quite roaring, isn't it, when you're up there as one of the top manufacturers in the World Rally Championship. And they said it simply moved the weak spot of the overall system to a different component. And they concluded by saying, what's clear from the Safari is the i20 M1 Rally is fast, and you can make an argument. I mean, they've won the last 2 rallies. They were, really, really fast and up there in the Safari. So it's fast but fragile, and it needs a fresh sheet of paper to cure its problems. But will it be allowed one in time? So for Mo's progression, it says it has been validated. That's something we're saying as well, that he's a good old Adrian. He already appeared to be a change driver during that WRC2 season, and the BRC over-eagerness had made way to a more balanced sensibility. And over-eagerness. That definitely wasn't the name you could give to Formo in the Safari Rally. Very, very mature, very, very measured drive, chucking it off the road. They said earlier in last season's Rally Japan raised the obvious question mark of whether he'd really learnt anything at all. And I think this rally shows that he has. So has Sweden. And they're saying that initial signs have looked good, but Safari cemented what already appeared to be the case in Monte Carlo and Sweden. Before the season started, they're saying there was talk about M Sports picking its moments. Rallies where it knew its better resourced rivals might push too hard and falter, opening the door. Doing it once in a while, to a degree luck. Doing it twice, they're saying, is not. So well done to him. Solberg is learning how to drive like a champion, they're saying. So raw speed has never been missing. That's been apparent for a long time. He spent last season trying to show his tenacity behind the wheel by being much faster than everyone else, they're saying. After all, beating someone as experienced as Andreas Mikkelsen over the course of a WRC2 season was going to be a tough ask. But trying to be the fastest at every given moment, they're saying, is not always the route to the championship. Picking your battles matters. Remember, Safari is a marathon, not a sprint, even more so for that Safari. And they said when Solberg picked up 2 punctures on Friday morning, it raised the question of whether he'd throw the kitchen sink at closing that 3-minute, 30-second deficit. And after all, his teammate was very much under the weather and running on adrenaline was Mr. Greensmith. Solberg did not do that. He accepted that second place was a valuable result for the championship. Very grown up. And the controversial point system, is playing to Nouvelle's strength. As we know, our comments on social media is currently on fire, they're saying, with people lambasting the new 2024 point system. Absolutely, they are. The drivers take the system they are given. To be fair, you could make an argument saying it is fair because all the drivers have that same chance, but they must drive in a way that maximises those opportunities, and Nouvelle has absolutely done it. His never give up spirit, as he calls it, was made for this scenario. He's a risk taker. Sometimes those risks go too far, a la Rally Japan. But yeah, we'll definitely be getting into those points. But if you've made it to the end, thank you very, very much. This has been the Hot Stage via the Hot Lap. This has been our Safari debrief, so to speak. Kalle reigns in Kenya. Speak to you soon.